This video is sponsored by Eucalan, the wool soap that I use in both my business and for the knits that I knit for myself and my family. This is a no-rinse wool wash. They've been in business for 25 years. This is the wool wash that I really use. I love it. I want to get some of this copy right here, correct here. Non-toxic solution is formulated without petrochemicals, bleach, or optical brighteners, making it safe and gentle for your most luxurious fibers and heirloom knits. It's also just a good delicate fabric wash because it's no rinse. Anyway, they have 5 different scents. There's unscented and lavender and eucalyptus and jasmine called Rapture. And what did I miss? Eucalyptus, lavender, grapefruit. I think I got all of them. Anyway, they have a lot of different sizes, and if you're knitting gifts for people, they do have these little bottles like this, including little or little packets that are one kind of a single serve of the wool soap. It's a great idea to get these and include them in gifts that you're giving, hand knit gifts that you're giving. That will let people care for the things you've knit properly. Anyway, many thanks to Eucalan for sponsoring this video. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate Portuguese Fair Isle. And if you'd like to see the collection of all the Portuguese knitting videos that I have, just click the little eye in the upper right-hand corner to see that playlist. It's growing. I'm getting a lot of requests for different things. And I had some requests for this video. And when I actually gave it a try and learned how to do it and tweaked my own way of making it work, I am really happy with this. I think that this is going to be a technique that people who struggle with holding 2 different strands of yarn are going to find this much easier. Now, this is kind of a big picture for Portuguese knitting thing. I'm putting these videos out, and I don't really think this is happening where people are abandoning their normal knitting style and switching to Portuguese knitting. You know, there are people in the world, of course, who knit this way as their primary way of knitting, but I don't expect us English, continental American knitters to switch it up completely. But what I hear people doing is they're using one technique, one part of Portuguese knitting in with their regular knitting, and which is helping them with getting better tension, or it's helping them stay away from hand fatigue because the movements are a little bit different. It's people are using it in combination with their regular way of knitting, and because the stitches are identical, there's no extra twist or anything on the stitch, you can't alternate back and forth without any difficulty. Now, this is one of those things where I think people who, especially right-handed throwers, and if you want some explanations on the different styles of knitting that I'm talking about, I'll link to my video. Right-handed throwers who are picking up the yarn and wrapping and dropping and picking up the other color and wrapping and dropping, I think you're going to find that this is very cool. Okay, so to get set up for this, in my other Portuguese knitting videos, I demonstrate with the yarn around the back of my neck, just to keep it simple. I think knitting pins make it a lot easier with Fair Isle, and I actually have 2 knitting pins. Mine are both from Etsy, and they're both magnetic, and I'll give you links to, they're magnetics, they're not putting a hole in my blouse, but I'll give you links to the shops where I got these. So before we switch to the other camera, this is my setup. I'm going to take the lighter color of yarn and hook it through the pin on the right side, and the darker color of yarn and hook it through the pin on the left side. And you can use safety pins if you like. You don't have to use special Portuguese knitting pins. And then just like with the other Portuguese knitting videos, you're going to keep tension by making a yarn ring around your middle finger with the working yarn. So this is the setup. Before we switch to the other camera, this is the setup. It's no different than the other Portuguese knitting setup, except for we have 2 different colors of yarn going. So let's go and take a look. So this is what it looks like from a distance. I've got my lighter colored yarn on top and headed over to the right knitting pin, and the darker color yarn on bottom and headed over to the left knitting pin. This is the technique that I use in all Fair Isle. I always keep the lighter color on top and the darker color on the bottom, as long as you're consistent. And one thing you'll notice, this is the wrong side of the work. We are purling all of these stitches because purling is so much easier in Portuguese Fair Isle. Now this is funny because the technique looks so crazy at this point, but the technique is actually very easy. So I'm going to go in for a purl stitch and then just flick the yarn to work the purl stitch. I'm actually going to work 3. And then I'm going to switch to not pearl, I meant blue. I'm going to switch to white, put my needle in, stretch out the stitches on the right needle to create a nice soft or a nice stretched float, and then flick the yarn. Whoops. And then switch back to blue. You see, I'm not having to drop the yarn and pick up the new color. Both yarns are just kind of waiting here for me. Is this really easy or what? The setup is crazy, and the setup seems kind of cumbersome, but once you're in the swing of doing this, it's actually really easy, and that is Portuguese Royale. I'm going to give, actually, people are going to ask, I'm going to give you a link to this hat that I'm knitting because you didn't get a really good chance to see it inside out. But I had made this hat already and I thought it'd be a good example, which leads me to the next point. If you're reading a chart and you're working every stitch purlwise, you'll want to read the chart backwards. Instead of reading from right to left, you'll want to read it from left to right. Just a point. And yes, just click the little eye in the upper right-hand corner for links to everything I talk about in this video, and good luck.